Hello again everybody and welcome back to Celeste. Today is chapter 6 and it's called Reflection, and if you look at the video length you might now go, wow, this is a long chapter, and that's only half true. What's really happening is that it has long cutscenes, one in particular. And the timestamp will flash on screen momentarily if you want to skip it. But for now, let's just hop right into it. So we just fell all the way down from being near the summit into some cave that is actually, from the looks of it, below the mountain. So essentially we lost all our progress. Hey, at least you have these blocks to boost us back up. They're really nice. Just dash into them from any direction and they will just rush in the direction you dashed into them. And since it worked twice for Madeline, if you count the reflection in the mirror temple to picture a feather to calm her down, well, we're now actually using feathers to just fly back up. Let's see how far that takes us. Controlling when in this feather form has some nuance to it. If you actually press into a direction, you go as fast as we are now, but if you let go of the D-pad or stick, well, you just go a bit slower, which is nice. Easier to control in some circumstances. And if you control with the analog stick, you can just control yourself more finely and actually lose less speed by just making less sharp turns. This chapter has what's probably my second most favorite track on the entire soundtrack, and we'll hear it a lot. Plenty of opportunity to just shut up for me, as well as plenty of cutscenes throughout will play. This here is so far, by far, the most difficult rhythm platforming section. Mainly because it actually expects us to use the dash crystals to kind of just delay our landing anywhere to make sure we don't just drop to our death. You see that under the ground there? That just kind of thing? Yep, it's another feather. This is part of a secret, by the way, so don't really worry about it. Alrighty, it is puzzle time. Now this is a bit of a hard one, because there's no indication what you're really supposed to do, you just have to kind of find something, anything really, that will give these colors up on the top meaning. And you might now remember Chapter 1. The way you got the crystal heart there was to, you know, dash in directions indicated by a bird and the computer screen. This right here. The colors correspond to the directions the birds fly into. And this sequence of dashes that we have to perform is actually the exact same as in Chapter 1. But we are expected to do a little more than just that. After performing the first sequence, that symbol, second to the left, well, that means we need to invert the horizontal directions. So instead of left, right, and, you know, basically that. And now we'll see vertical directions. And finally, we just have to guess, because the symbol is gone, that we have to invert both of them at the same time. And so we get our 6th crystal heart. And as long as we make it to the end now, we will have 100%ed this chapter, because there's precisely 0 strawberries in it. Okay, here's where it gets interesting. Whenever you see me not take a path, or ignore a path, or whatever, that's not because there's nothing there. It's because there's branching paths here. Basically, all the paths are correct. It's just, you know, your own choice on where to kind of go. And if you've traveled with one path, just walk back a little bit and try the other, or one of the others. And here we have bumper blocks. They do what you think they do. They just kind of push us away if you touch them, which can be both against us as well as to our advantage. At first, I really kind of hated these bumper blocks, but they grew on me. They're one of my favorite gimmicks now. What killed me was not flying up, it was touching the spikes on the right, by the way. Funnily enough, I died after the hard part was over. But that's just how this game goes sometimes. It does usually put the more difficult challenge at the start of the room. Usually, that is, not always. Alright, before going on to the right, let's just try something different. Because we can actually go up here, but there's nothing that you really need to reach. It's just, how shall I say it, a bit of an Easter egg up here. And we can actually reach it with our current repertoire. It's just a bit difficult, you need to be aware of advanced movement. And we could just do like a long dash jump, delayed, to keep our dash, and go to the left there, up where there's no spikes. But I think this is as good a point as any to show you about assist mode, because I don't think I've shown it off. It's essentially a way that lets you tune the difficulty of the game a little bit in your favor, so you can, you know, beat the game even if you are, like, have a less high base skill level, like lower than people who played video games since age 5, like me, because I'm a nerd. Wait, this is the menu. Essentially, you can just tune game speed, get more stamina, or just infinite dashes. And of course, straight up invincibility. Really, there's nothing in here that's of note, except of course all these characters from Matt Thorson's other games. The only one I recognize is Ogmo to the left, and the others are from games I probably never played. And I don't know Ogmo from Jumper, the game he came from, but from being a guest character in Super Meat Boy. He also, uncannily, looks very similar to Super Meat Boy, I don't know why. He's older than Super Meat Boy. Anyway, let's get back on track. interesting that until now we went up, but now that we are about to confront our problem, we're moving down. And you might see these narrow gaps. You can actually fall through those, and there is a setup for every little gap, all three of them, to get through them safely. Well, for the first two anyway. The third is rather easy to get through with a little bit of finesse. Opposed to Chapter 2, where we had to run away from her, we now have to just face her head on and just run into her. Or dash in our case. Just touching her is enough, honestly. But she will, of course, shoot these beams at you and orbs, and those will kill you if you touch them. And this is a rather long and grueling section. It actually makes up most of the level. Every time you touch, you get pushed back a little bit. This is usually to push you back into safety, but it's also safe most of the time anyway, to just dash further into the room and you land on some kind of surface. But not always, there's exceptions. And this section here is designed in a way to make you feel really badass. Just pointing that out. Okay, so now we've essentially reached phase 2, and these blocks that were previously just falling, they are now more involved in the designs of the levels. It can be hard sometimes to not rush immediately into spikes and you pick up a feather, because you will just kind of sip in the direction you're pressing slightly. Alright, since there's no strawberries in this level, that means we got everything. And if we felt like it, we could actually skip entire chapters with assist mode, but let's not do that. Actually, let's turn it back off for the next video, which is when we will go to Chapter 7, the Summit. And to reach the summit, we'll have to go all the way through the Forsaken City, the Old Site, the Celeste Resort, Golden Ridge, and the Mirror Temple all over again. It's more awesome than it sounds, really. Think of it as a boss rush of some kind. But for now, let's look how fast we can go through Chapter 6. Okay, let us begin. What's probably the most important about this beginning section is that you will be able to go faster if you control the feather form with your control stick rather than the D-pad, because you can turn more slightly, and you only lose speed after like a certain sharpness of turn. I don't know the exact number of degrees, but basically you're faster that way. That's the simple explanation. I don't always do this because it's easier for me to use the D-pad, but there's times where it's just straight up faster, and that's when I'll use it. Plus it's kind of hard to switch, and using the stick for regular gameplay is I don't know, I bet if you get used to it, it's fine, but it's more difficult than just using the D-pad and less precise for me personally. Yep, I think you can actually get all the way up there without actually using neutral climb like I just did, but I had to just do it. Oh, and by the way, when we just went through, there is a way to lower that one block that stops us by just using a long dash jump or hyper dash, whatever they call it, I don't know, or care. But the thing is, I can't really consistently pull it off. And we will actually see some of the paths that we haven't taken in this version, because, you know, there's branching paths. I think there's some overlap, but overall, we'll be going different paths mostly. And I would have to lie if I told you that I know these were the most efficient paths. That's just some of the most easy that I just, you know, happen to go through. Because what I like to do when, like, speedrunning place levels is just kind of think of ways to go through them myself, rather than just sticking to some route that somebody else discovered. Not because I think that I would do better, but just because I think it's more fun to kind of just, I don't know, find my own path, really. And find my own strategies. The world record, by the way, for this level right now is 6 minutes and 13 seconds. And I believe our own time will be the closest to world record we've been in a while. But, you know, it goes without saying that this isn't world record. But still, it's a very fun level to just kind of try and go fast through. Mainly because these blocks in the different paths just give you a lot of opportunity to just, I don't know, figure out ways to go faster. Which, again, is like one of the most fun parts of it for me. Like I mentioned that I like to just craft my own routes. But that doesn't mean that I don't watch other runs and see what they do and do it myself. Just to make that clear. And the only reason I died here is because, well, I'm an idiot. Anyway, this is how you use those small gaps. It's relatively easy to get through them if you just know what to do. The first just kind of makes you grab to the wall to the left, and once you fall down, you just dash to the right, and you will be aligned for the second gap. Alrighty, so this fight for me here is a bit more sloppy overall than what I think I'm capable of doing. But it's one of these parts that look just really cool if you pull them off really fast. It's also really fun to just almost instantly after she moves, ram into Madeline and just, I don't know, do your thing. And these falling blocks, by the way, when you play normally, they will probably fall before you actually, you know, reach the part where you're supposed to go. But when actually, like, finding a fast and efficient way to get through, you'll more often than not just kind of overtake them. I think for the regular run of this room, I used the exact same path through it. Except I think I somehow did it more smoothly. One thing that I don't do when I should be doing it is press down when I'm falling, because that, you know, makes you fall faster. I mean, you do it sometimes, but not nearly enough. And that dash, for some reason, almost always kills me the first try. I don't even know why. And there is a way to just time it right and do like a hyper dash and go below the spikes. But it's one of those things that I can't do consistently yet, because the timing is like I have to find out the right timing is the thing. Because when you do it too late, you just kind of dash right into the spikes, which is the opposite of what you want. Okay, that's basically the hard part over. And I'm pretty sure we could have gone under 7 minutes up to this point if I had avoided some of the more stupid deaths, which is pretty much all of them, because I don't know, the way I went through it, I could have just avoided them. Alright, 8:48. Actually better than my previous personal best, which was just under 10 minutes. So a pretty solid improvement there. But there's, of course, more time to be won. Well, whatever. That's for another time. But for now, it is time to take a break. So see you next time when we finally head for the summit.